Norse in Wonderland, when nothing's as it seems. Norse in Wonderland, the truth will haunt your dreams. Norse in Wonderland, when nothing's as it seems. Norse in Wonderland, the truth will haunt your dreams.
You ever get into an argument with somebody and halfway through you realize they're not even arguing with you, they're arguing with themselves? Yeah. Today I want to talk about one of my least favorite phrases in the English language, the non-apology. You know the one. Sorry you feel that way. Now I don't know about you, but every time I hear that, my brain just throws up a giant red flag. Because that phrase is not an apology. That phrase is the verbal equivalent of sweeping your mess under somebody else's rug. And let's be real for a second. Sorry you feel that way is basically the human version of autocorrect. It looks like it's helping, but it just makes everything worse. It's also like emotional spam mail. There's no substance, just a little line dropped in to get you to stop reading. Honestly, I'd rather someone just shrug and say, good luck with that, and walk away. At least that's honest. So let's pull this apart. Because I recently found myself in a back and forth with somebody who just loved to lean on that phrase, and it reminded me exactly why I don't tolerate it. The first tactic was what I call the non-apology shield. When someone says, sorry you feel that way, it sounds polite, but what they're really saying is, the problem isn't what I did or said, the problem is your inconvenient reaction. It's a way of minimizing. Instead of taking responsibility or even acknowledging the point, they turn the spotlight on you and make it about your feelings. And if you were making logical points, like I was, suddenly those points get downgraded into nothing more than your emotions. It's dismissive, it's deflective, and it kills any chance of real dialogue. Then came the projection move. This one is sneaky. You bring points, and instead of engaging, they label you. Now suddenly you're rebellious, you're emotional, you're the one making assumptions. Do you see what's happening there? They're not responding to what you actually said. They're assigning you a character role in their story. That's projection. It protects their ego and undermines your credibility at the same time. And it's gaslighting, because they're redefining you instead of engaging with what you actually said. The next one is a classic, the intellectual high ground trick. This is when someone claims they've done the research, they've looked into it, they know the truth. Now on the surface, that sounds impressive, but here's the problem. It isn't about substance. It's about status. It makes them look like the rational, enlightened one while painting you as shallow or uninformed. But it's not actually engaging with your points, it's just posturing. And then we get to the context excuse. This is where the conversation gets really dark, because this is the move where they defend the indefensible by waving the context flag. You bring up something harmful, even violent, even morally outrageous, and they say, well, you don't understand the context. But here's the thing. There are some things that do not have a context that makes them okay. Explaining away cruelty is not truth-seeking. It's rationalization. It's about protecting a framework at all costs, even when conscience should override it. Finally, there's the blame shift exit. This is where the conversation wraps up with something like, I'm not debating you, you're the one keeping it going, I just want to leave it alone. And what they're really saying is, I want the last word, but don't want responsibility for the loop. This creates the illusion that they're calm and rational while you're reactive, but let's be clear. They were provoking the entire time. That last line is a performance of neutrality, not actual neutrality. So here's the deal. This is not about having different beliefs. I can handle disagreements. What I will not tolerate is the manipulation that shows up in the form of gaslighting, projection, and deflection. Because those tactics are not about exchanging ideas, they're about control. That's why I don't get pulled into these loops anymore. My strategy is simple. I drop one truth bomb, I expose the tactic, and then I disengage. I don't do it for the person I'm arguing with because I already know I'm not going to change their mind. I do it for the people watching, the audience, the bystanders, the ones who might see through the cracks if someone points out the pattern. That's the only reason I'll ever engage in these kinds of arguments online, and only if they're public. Because I don't see the point in going back and forth privately with someone who is committed to misunderstanding me. But if my words can show somebody else what projection and gaslighting actually look like, then maybe it helps them recognize it in their own lives. So let me leave you with this. Have you ever caught someone using the "sorry you feel that way" shield? And if so, how did it land with you? When you're in a disagreement, how do you tell the difference between someone who's actually engaging and someone who is just deflecting? And finally, what boundaries do you hold when you realize someone is projecting or gaslighting you in real time? I stand rooted in truth, courage, and protection of the innocent. I choose awareness over ignorance. I speak what must be spoken even when the world is silent. If this episode made you think, don't let that moment fade. Share it, save it, speak about it. Quiet courage is still courage. Follow Norse and Wonderland for more truth-telling in a world full of smoke and mirrors. Stay awake, stay grounded, stay veiled, but see everything. If anything ever happens to me, it's more than a convenient accident. I didn't do it to myself. I'm happy, healthy, and cautious.
Chasing the rabbit, down we must go. Where does it end? Nobody knows. Hurry up now, we're running out of time. You better keep up or get left behind. Norse and Wonderland, where nothing's as it